good. Very good.
Awesome. Glad we could connect regarding applications for the Senior Business Systems Analyst role with RiverSource. This will be a first-round interview to discuss your interest and opportunity. I'll share more about the role as well as go over next steps and any questions that you may have, okay?
Okay, absolutely.
All right, perfect. Well, why don't we start with the easiest question? What prompted you to apply to this role?
Well, I always wanted to, I got the last couple years of experience between Wells Fargo and United Health Group Optum working as a business system analyst. And, I'm quite sure that you've seen in the system that I was working at Ameriprise before. Before I left, I was actually getting ready to get into the process of interviewing for a business analyst position because I thought that would be, a good fit on moving my career forward. Mm-hmm. So I seen this position open and I decided to apply.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that. All right. All right. Perfect. All right. So your position with was it a contract role? Because it says Optum Persistent / Wells Fargo.
Yeah, so I should have broke it down a little better in my resume. From December 2021 to April 2023, I was working at Wells Fargo as a business system analyst for the Open Banking Gateway project. And Optum, I was also a business system analyst from August 2023. And that contract was to end June 2024. Those were two different positions. Optum, if you ever heard of TCS is Tata. They have some of the you guys contracted with them at Ameriprise for a while too. So they're kind of like they're like Tata. Persistent is like Tata. So Persistent is an MSP that got the contract through United Health Group Optum. Much like when you guys use TCS as a vendor at Ameriprise.
Gotcha.
Wells Fargo was a contract as well. Now that wasn't through Persistent; it was through another company.
Okay. Okay, but that wasn't work with Persistent, you said.
No, ma'am. No. Wells Fargo was not with Persistent. That was with another program.
Gotcha.
I think it was called Encore. They switched the name. But I can get it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. No worries. All right. Well, so what was your role during your time with? Well, let's go with you were with Wells Fargo first. You mentioned, correct?
Yeah, as that was my first kind of business system analyst position, so to say. What I was doing there was basically managing ServiceNow tickets. And in Confluence, working with a lot of the treasury departments for onboarding and offboarding and the integration of, for example, let's say you were to buy a building for $1 million or you want to buy a house or very large in transactions. We were supporting the APIs behind that using Postman and Splunk and Apogee and Jira. So if a software developer were to call in and say, hey, can I use Python to basically integrate the Wells Fargo API with our payment system, and then I could just, help them with either questions about, permissions, Python. Somebody might have a question about, how the API works. If there was an error, if there was an issue with an integration that one of the software developers were working on, we would open up Postman and Splunk and look at the logs.
Okay. All right. All right. And why did that position come to an end? Or it was a contract role?
Yeah, that was a contract role. A lot of times in a lot of financial institutions, what happens is they have like a cool off period where they might be able to contract you for maybe 12 to 24 months. It wasn't a situation where, I wasn't doing a bad job or anything. It was just, the contract came to an end. They couldn't keep us any longer.
Gotcha.
And with Optum, it was a global consolidation issue. Basically, they figured that they could get, some H-1B visas and some cheaper contractors, over in India. I pretty much stood up the software, helped integrate the software. If you ever heard of MyChart, that's pretty much what they bought. They bought like a division of a copycat of MyChart, and so we were supporting that. And come to find out, when I started talking to some of the people at the MSP, they were honest with us. They said, well, you guys did what we needed you to do. We know we know that it was supposed to be contract to hire, but we found like, my team, the team I led was about 4 people. We get 8 to 10, 15 people in India for the price of y'all. So,
Gotcha. All right. And I'm sorry, can you expand a bit more on so what were you brought on to do? What was the work that you were expected to do support in this role with Optum?
So, the integration of the MyChart software, we were pretty much a tier 3 support group where I would be the only person with like the Grafana, right? So I would monitor system performance. We would use Postman and Insomnia to look at the APIs. For example, let's say you get a vaccine and then you can't see it in your MyChart app. We would be the people that would receive a ServiceNow ticket, and then we would open up a task to delegate other people to resolve certain things. For example, you get a vaccine, you can't see it. We go and look at the back end data, and then we either fix it or we send it to somebody that could fix it. So it was basically electronic medical record issue support. And what I would do is I would run the reports, have daily scrum meetings, and then I would divvy out the tickets to everybody on my team. That was pretty much what we did for that position.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that. All right. Thank you for that. All right. Perfect. And then for about a year, you were with Flywheel. Can you tell me about your role with them?
Well, that was a contract dealing with software as a service. So if you ever had the unfortunate incident where you had an MRI, you know that they have what they call these DICOM images. So what we would do is that software, it allows, doctors and researchers to be able to save lives a lot quicker. They can get the medical imaging a lot easier. So we would take support calls on either upgrading the software, or for example, we would use GitLab and Terraform and Kubernetes to support the software. If somebody needed some additional hard drive space, it was pretty much infrastructure as code support on the back end of that software. And then working across the entire life cycle management of the software, working with the software developers, working with some of the data scientists and data engineers, making sure that the software is running up to par. And pretty much, if a customer calls in and they say, well, this is happening to the software, what we would do is we would reproduce the issue, and then we would open up a Jira ticket, and create user stories and things of that nature, so that the software engineers can, make modifications for the next version of the software. So it was, that was my first introduction to DevOps.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And jumping over, I did see your time with Hiawatha, but I am definitely interested in your time with the Ameriprise. So it was a contract role with Syntax, or
so Syntax.
What was your role?
Okay, so Syntax was a Citrix administrator position that I actually supported you guys over there too. It was a managed service company that supported, federal customers, manufacturing sites for any incoming calls in Zen app, Zen desktop. I worked with their managed service department, basically doing alert monitoring, system performance and things of that nature. I would do patch management reports. I would push patches out to the servers each day for any client that that need be. I worked over there for maybe like 2 years or 2.5, and then I went over to Ameriprise as a Citrix admin, and I was there about 6 months. And then I worked at Hiawatha Academies.
Gotcha. And so for the 6 months that you were, so So your time with Syntax was not with Ameriprise?
No, I supported you guys sometimes, but no, it wasn't. Ameriprise was from August 2018, I believe, to February, February 2019.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And so for the 6 months that you were with Ameriprise,
I was doing Citrix support. They called it on the virtual delivery team.
I'm sorry, say it again. You were doing what?
I was doing Citrix support for the virtual application delivery team.
Citrix support.
Yeah.
Okay.
They call it an operations analyst position.
Okay. And so was this contracted through Citrix or Citrix?
No. I was a perm hire. I ended up leaving Syntax, and going over to Ameriprise.
Gotcha. Okay, so just as a FYI, it's a bit confusing on your resume when you say Syntax and then / Ameriprise. It gives the impression you were with Ameriprise for those 3 years. Instead of separating them.
Oh, my apologies.
Okay, so okay. Trying to make sure I have my notes correctly because I'm going to be sharing this with the hiring lead, and I just want to make sure it's accurate. So you were with Syntax from 2016 to about 2018.
Yeah,
and
August 2018.
Okay, and that's in that role you work with alert monitoring systems, reporting.
Basically triage at Syntax. I was like the first line of triage support for any Citrix issues.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, and then from there you were a permanent hire with Ameriprise.
Yeah, from August 2018.
Okay. Doing Citrix reporting. And but you were in that role for 6 months. Why did that position come to an end?
Well, I ended up leaving. And the reason why, I liked the company a lot. And I was doing very, very well in terms of performance. But it wasn't a good fit because, I was experiencing a lot of, bullying and harassment from, members of the team. And so, I went to the manager about it, and I figured, well, maybe I'll just apply for a BA role here, but there was some harassment and bullying, and I went to the head of HR and we had a conversation. I sat down with them and told them it was basically, an onboarding issue where, the one of the leads that was working with us, they told one of the other contractors that I was supposed to be taking over a lot of the desktop support to withhold training from me. And so, when I went to the manager about it, she pretty much just kind of let it go. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna have to just go to HR, and I ended up resigning. So I did have a little bit of fear of retaliation and whatnot, but the lead of HR, she assured me that couldn't happen. But it wasn't a very good environment in that regard, especially with me being a high performer.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that.
So that's the honest, I really didn't want to mention it, but I just want to be candid, No,
I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing that. That's fine. I just wanted, like I said, what I'm sharing as far as your experience, and what you have listed on your on your resume, as I said, it's a bit confusing, or to be completely honest, a bit misleading. In terms of how you list your experience and time in those experiences. Like I mentioned, for example, the Syntax and Ameriprise, because the way it's listed on your resume, it looks like you were with Ameriprise for 3 years, and that should actually be separate, especially if you were working for a totally different company. during a different time. And even the same thing with your time with Optum. It seems like, and that's why I was a bit confused, where it seems like you were with Optum as well as Wells Fargo for 3 years, where that's not the case. You were working a variety of contract roles. So I'm just like I said, just want to make sure I have a clear understanding of your, not only your experience, but your time in those various roles.
Okay.
That makes sense. So, well, this role is with RiverSource, subsidiary of Ameriprise. This team is responsible for production requirements, reporting, and testing. But one of the things that the hiring manager wanted to be completely transparent about this role is that this role is not about fixing, programming, or enhancements. It's not a technology role, I should say, where it's about fixing, programming, enhancement. This role, it really is supporting the business with the knowledge on how to troubleshoot something. So it's working with technology to translate between the business and the technology area on what's going on, gathering requirements, and then taking to UAT testing. So really being the subject matter expert between the business and the technology team. It is working, like I said, with those gathering of requirements and UAT testing. What do you feel would be, based off of your years of experience in the roles that you've had, what do you feel would be your strengths and skills in relation to this role?
Well, I would say that I got a pretty good understanding of gathering requirements. When I was at Hiawatha Academies, that was kind of a liaison position. I mean, I was a Salesforce administrator for Infinite Campus and Salesforce. But I consulted with staff every day and held meetings on, if they needed some modifications to reports and workflows and dashboards. I was also a Microsoft technology instructor for 7 years for the Minneapolis Park Board. I think that, between the infrastructure side and the customer service side, I have a pretty good, understanding of that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Again, with this role, it's being able to partner with a variety of our businesses or stakeholders and translate the needs of business and technology. And at times, it's communicating or relaying the same message, but it's varying your approach and your style based on the audience. So, for example, gathering requirements and sharing or relaying that information to the technology team, they'll have a high-level technical overview of what you're trying to explain compared to doing that same with the business where they may need a simpler or layman's terms understanding. Do you have experience with that where you had to communicate the same message to various audiences, or I should say different audiences, but needed to vary your style for each?
I would say so. When I was a technical instructor, I got over 300 to 400 people certified here in the city of Minneapolis. In terms of technology, you have people that might come in and they might come from an IT background, and some people might have been plumbers or been working at Burger King or something. So I have experience in being able to speak in layman's terms.
Okay, would you be able to share a specific example?
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily just speaking in layman's terms. It's an example where the message you're sharing, you had to share to a team that can understand your high-level technical overview, but then taking that same message where you needed to simplify it. That's sort of the approach I'm looking for.
Well, I could say when I was doing some of these trainings, I might have had a situation where we were doing certain labs and people didn't understand, and I had to make analogies. For example, like I might bring up something like I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones fan, but I'd bring up a Game of Thrones analogy and be able to kind of map it out that way. or are you looking for something a little different? Or
well, again, it's so like I said, with this role, it's being the liaison between the business and the technology team. So, for example, there is a need of the business. They want to take a process, and this is just an example. This doesn't necessarily relate to or say that this is the work that's going to be done for this particular role. But for if a manager recognizes that there is a process that's manual and it's time consuming, it takes a long time for it to be completed, they want to identify a way of making this an automated process. So the senior business systems analyst speaks to the business and gathers that information on what they're trying to do, then taking that to the technology team, relaying this is what the business wants to do. So now technology is going to come back with a high-level technical overview of what that process would look like. You would need to be able to translate that to the business, but putting it in more simple terms.
Okay. So basically, when I was at Hiawatha, you have some of the teachers and the principals and the network support team that might say, "Hey, we want to gather," because this was a data-driven organization. So we dealt with Tableau and things of that nature. So you had to deal with stakeholders. We want to be able to process 3,000 to 4,000 applicants or students, and we want to be able to put them in this system. What system should we use? Is that kind of what you guys are looking for?
Well,
or how do we go about doing so?
Yeah, I'm looking for a specific example of you doing that is what I'm trying to get at. So I sort of explained or gave an example of what would be potential of the work being done. So I'm looking for an example of you actually doing that. So you mentioned with Hiawatha, so I'm just trying to get a sense of, okay, you're speaking to the technology or whoever it is that you needed to speak to get that high level overview, then taking that information and translating it to the business, but in a simpler term for them to understand.
Well, a lot of the times what I did over there was working with Salesforce account managers. And for example, they may want a modification into the system. So the principals may say, well, can you add a piece to the third party system where, for example, if you were giving me an interview right now, but if you sent me a link, they have software that kind of bonded to the Salesforce system, and then you would basically give the interview one-on-one through the video system, and then it would email them. So they want to know, can they integrate any new reports or workflows? There's a piece in Salesforce Lightning where they want to automate workflows so certain things happen at a certain amount of time. If this happens, that will happen. So I would hold meetings and ask the principals and the teachers and people on the network team, what do you want to see? What kind of changes would you like to see? What would make it easier for you to be able to do your job a lot easier? Is there any modifications in the Salesforce instance or an Infinite Campus that would be easier to feed data so you could get these visualizations, so you could get more donations for the charter school?
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. And also, like I mentioned, with this role, it's identifying, or I should say, the business is going to relay inefficiencies that they want to improve and make it a more efficient process. So it's gathering requirements and taking to UAT testing. Could you share your experience with that? I know you mentioned your experience with gathering requirements. Do you have a specific example of working with a business or a manager or a stakeholder, gathering those requirements, doing the testing, and then what was the outcome?
Well, I guess, at Flywheel, I could say that, I wasn't really necessarily working with a lot of stakeholders there, but, when we were running these tests, you would have these little scripts. If you're familiar with DevOps and Kubernetes, there will be what they call these run books. And what they do is they tell you how to do A, B, and C in order to get to another point to push an application or make any modifications with infrastructure as code. And then what you would do is you would do merge requests and you would open up a Jira. We would have what they call a user story. So if we're testing the software and we're trying to do something like upload like a DICOM file with Linux through the command line, we can gather the logs from uploading it and look at the errors and package those up in like a export a file and pass them on to the software developers. If a customer calls in and says, I would like to be able to look at an X-ray a certain way as an XML file, how do we go about maybe putting this feature in? So there might be a special feature request. So we would write those user stories with Jira and then present them to the software development team in that fashion. But it didn't go to a stakeholder.
I'm sorry. Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you for that. Well, before I do wrap up my questions, is there anything else you would like to share about your background, skills, experience that you feel would be relevant to this role that we have not discussed?
Yeah, I have primarily an infrastructure background. I know that, you wouldn't be necessarily breaking or fixing anything, but, the main point of my career, I was doing a lot of Windows 7 migrations for, Travelers Insurance, AIG, Blue Cross Blue Shield, working with SCCM and doing a lot of multi-site iMac and migrations, for, the first couple years of my career. I also did work at TCS as an EUC analyst on our Convo backup software migration as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Last question. In terms of compensation, I did know in your application you listed a range of 80 to 90,000. Just wanted to confirm, after hearing more about this role, that is in alignment with what you're seeking.
Yes, that works.
Okay, perfect. Well, did you have any questions for me before I go over next steps?
Yes. Now you said this is a subsidiary of Ameriprise, so it's RiverSource, so it's within Ameriprise, right?
They are separate companies. They are, but it's RiverSource, or I should say Ameriprise is the parent company. So if you were hired, you would be a RiverSource employee. Okay. What would you say is the top 3 qualifications that the hiring manager is looking for? Just as I mentioned, when I shared what the day-to-day responsibilities, so it's someone who can be that liaison between the business and the technology team. So it's someone who has experience working with a team, experience with gaining an understanding of a process, someone who can be a subject matter expert to the business as well as to the technology team, being able to translate the needs. Okay. Within the first 60 to 90 days of the position, what is the manager looking for in terms of, training and things of that nature? Yeah. So I don't have the 30, 60, 90-day overview. I can say that there is a large learning curve with this team and this role. The position is actually to work with someone who's going to be retiring. And so because of the large learning curve, they're going to be spending all of their time learning from this person because this person is a subject matter expert. So that's really what the 30, 60, 90 day would look like. What that will actually entail, or the specific details of that type of that learning, I don't have the specifics on, but like I said, it's someone that's going to be retiring. They have a long history and experience, really a subject matter expert with this role and responsibilities. So it's someone who's going to be able to really come in and absorb their experience. Okay, I was just going to ask that question, so that clears it up. What can you tell me about anyone you know, if you do, that worked in this environment? I've been in Ameriprise before, but working specifically in for this kind of position, and I would say work autonomy and RiverSource and things of that nature and the vibe. So I work out of our Las Vegas office, and I am a recruiter, and so I don't have experience with the team, which is based in Minneapolis. Okay. I guess I got 2 last focal questions. Sure. What was some of the main things that attracted
that made my resume attractive to you guys?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. When it comes to business, these types of roles, whether it's business systems analyst, senior business systems analyst, we get a large influx of candidates. So it really is identifying candidates, first of all, who are in Minneapolis, because this is a hybrid role.
Okay.
And then it's looking at their experience. So I don't say this in any way to detract from your experience. It really is. I have a lot of interviews, so it's really about finding the candidate that has the strongest experience. So right now, I can't really say what differentiates your experience from others that I'm going to be interviewing. It really is looking at the strongest candidates for this opportunity, because I tend to get a large volume of applicants for these types of roles.
Okay, and what are the next steps forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as next steps, I will be sharing information with the hiring leader, who will make the determination if they'd like to move you forward to a next round interview. There will be 3 rounds, this being the first round, the next round with the hiring leader. And as I mentioned, we do have a significant pool of candidates, so we are looking to reduce that down to the top 3, maybe 4 finalists, who will then interview with the team before a final decision is made. But as far as if you're moving forward to the next round interview, I'll definitely have that decision by the end of this week, if not sooner. If moving forward, my scheduling partner will be in touch to gain your availability. Now, if you do move forward to that next round interview, keeping in mind that if it doesn't take place this week, of course, next week being Thanksgiving, final decision as far as who will move forward to that final round interview will be a few more weeks. The hiring leader wants to make sure everyone has an opportunity to go through first and second round interviews before finalist is determined. But like I said, you will hear back this week on if you're moving forward to that next round interview with the hiring leader. Okay?
Okay. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Looking forward to continue the conversation.
Likewise. Thank you for the opportunity. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Take care. I did not like that woman. I didn't like the way she was talking at all. Now, you seen my resume and you're gonna try to play it down. Now, there was nothing misleading. It was not misleading. The resume, I don't know what did not upload to these buzzards, but no, it wasn't misleading. I was clear about that I worked there because I put in my old customer number. I put in my old employee number, so you know when I worked there. So let's not play these games and talking about, oh, as I said and all this. I'm telling you, let me tell you something, y'all. I probably shouldn't say this, but now you see in my second book, when I was talking about the manager and I was talking about due process and how they were withholding training and that kind of mess, that was there, man. I'm gonna keep it all the way 100. That was there. I didn't really have no other card to play. I said, I'm just gonna be honest and say, hey, look, it was some bullying and harassment. They were withholding my training. There was really no reason for me to leave that quick within 6 months. So, she tried to act like she was gonna downplay my experience. No, y'all reached out to me after seeing my experience. I applied and y'all seen what I had. Y'all seen that I had 2 years as a business system analyst. Now it's about, it's 1 million people. She had a real nasty, funky attitude. Them Las Vegas Negroes. And let me tell you something. She was kind of like one of them buck dancing boule kind of that from that IT award show I was telling you. But she's like one of those. And I'm gonna tell you why. They got this thing called Ben. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm not gonna sugarcoat nothing, because that was a little irritating. They got this thing called a Ben thing, and basically it's one of these diversity and inclusion Negro, appointments, and all of them boule type Negroes are into that. And she's a co-chair or a co-something. So, you know, she just kind of had like a little nasty little tone and you know, and all of that. So I got to asking her questions. Well, you in Vegas, you don't know to get down to Minneapolis. You should know. You're a recruiter. You should know something. Let's look at the numbers of business analysts in Minneapolis. Well, let's just look at some of the numbers. Now, the average is $96,000 a year. You've seen, I didn't go cheap this time. Last time when I was with him, I went too cheap. I should have told them I needed 75 to 80 when I was doing that citric stuff down there. And, you know, I said, you know, you should know something. You should know, as a recruiter, you should give me a reason as to why I want to even join or come back. There should be something. This 3 rounds of interview. It wasn't 3 rounds last time I had it. Last time it was just a recruiter, and then they just got one on site. So I mean, just from y'all listening to this, it was kind of nasty. It was something that she should have said about, well, okay, here's the work autonomy. This is our get down river source. This is how we get down here. You didn't say any of that. And I was right. Is this a subsidiary? Well, you're going to be the employee of river source. Okay, but what is the work autonomy? What is the work style? Give me something about the vibe. You should know something. So if we want to talk about misleading, hey, you should know something here. You don't just get on a phone and just get to asking these dumbass situational questions. I know a little bit about the place because I work downtown in the building. I know about the place because your management subverted me down there. But I was trying to get a BA. Initially, I was trying to get a BA role before doing the citric stuff anyway down there. And so I was on the way to interviewing at one point, but I guess they said, okay, this nigga's about to leave. So, you know, I'm probably gonna go. Remember the old interview I told y'all about? And let's go to, since I'm still on, you know, my break. I like to recap a little bit. Let's go back to my channel. I don't know what I did with my, well, I'll close that. I don't need that. I had that other interview downtown. That other interview downtown. And it looks like I got an offer, but remember what I told y'all about a lot of financial companies? And that's another thing. When she tried to say, oh, well, you misled, it was no misleading. Everything on that application was specified. I specified these are the times that I worked there. So that's another thing you guys can do. If you have a resume where it does look kind of confusing, just put the dates there. But I put under system business analyst, and then, okay, I'm just gonna run all these times because yeah, it's different companies, but it just looks a little better, you know. But now I done reformatted my resume to say, okay, United Health Group, that was the last contract I worked, and then I, under the same banner, I say, well, I was at this other company as a business system analyst. You know, these are places that I'm probably not gonna, you know, be at again. And then I got all my skill sets and everything. Is there anything else you wanna, you know? And if you want to be honest, they made the position seem as if you're gonna be dealing with technology. You know, not so much as break fix, but not just the process of the business, but actually working with some of the software and doing testing and stuff like that. So they did something that was misleading, if you ask me. Yeah, I didn't say it was misleading, but you could tell I was getting ready to tell that woman, like, oh ma'am, there was nothing misleading about where I worked. You guys know very well in your system. I know because I work behind the damn systems. I know that they can easily see that you used to work there and how long you used to work there. So she was trying to play dumb as if she didn't know. That's why I asked. I said, is this a subsidiary of Ameriprise? So, you know, them boule Negroes, you know, that's how they talk. They talk like Karens. So, you know, just wanted y'all to know. That was a Negro I was talking to. One of them bootleg boule Negroes. Because it was Karen all over her. So, but, one thing I want to say is, yeah, I did get an offer. Oh, 2 for 1. Remember that Scada technology position, Scada tech support position out there in the boonies. They was trying to get me down there in the 60s. So I said, if they could get me for 70, I might consider. They're like, oh, we can't do it. Now I'm not gonna go too hard on them, because there was a brother that I know that wanted to consider the position, because I turned it down. They said the budget wouldn't go over 63, so I turned it down. I said, no, I'm not gonna I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. So, but the brother that was recruiting, the one that kept like stuttering a whole lot and stuff like that, like I said, I didn't really want to get him. He's a brother working there. If it would have been another recruiter, I would have been like, hey, what can we do? I would have got on him a little bit. But I ain't trying to make his job any harder. I'm trying to help that brother out, land another brother, get up in there. Because I know a dude that wants to work that position that I turned down. And I said, well, let me send this brother over there. So I told him to apply. So they basically said, I'm going to read you the email. This is from the talent acquisition consultant. DP, the business confirmed there's a hard budget at what we discussed. I know it's not aligned to your expectations, but wanted you to know the status. Now I done looked this company up. They got 70. They could do 70. They just don't want to. We appreciate your interest in so-and-so. If anything changes around the recruiting, I'll let you know. Now, keep in mind, that was the one where initially I applied and I put 83K. That was the one where they said, okay, well, we have a better position that we see is more fit. Now, they seen I wanted that 83K, but they wanted you to maybe know a little bit of Python, but they said that wasn't a requirement. You could kind of learn as you go. It was an engineer position. They wanted me to do a position that supported the engineers, and they said, we get you in the 60s. They should have came with at least 68. You see what I'm saying? They should have did that, but they didn't want to do that. They want to put it around 63. If I would have said 65, they probably would have bid, because they gave me the offer. I told them, no, come back with 70 minimum, because I'm driving way out there and everything. They didn't want to do it. So, it was cool. And it's not like you would, at this point, you wouldn't go back. Let's say you were hard up for cash. You're not going to go back, because they're going to be like, well, you should have took the initial 63. Sometimes they'll still roll with you, but a lot of times they feel a certain way, like, oh, you turned us down. This doesn't align with you. We know once you come up in here, you're going to be looking for something else in the 70s, 80s, and the 85s and 90s. You're going to be trying to find something else. You're going to try to make $15,000 to $20,000 more elsewhere. They know you're going to be looking for it. So a lot of times if you turn it down, and then if you're kind of hard up and you think about it some days and be like, man, maybe I should have took that job. They know that once you go back, if you go back and say, hey, I talked to my wife, blah, 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 blah. Is this still open? Sometimes they'll take you, but a lot of times they'll be like, nah, this ain't what you need. You done already said that you need this because of that. And I kind of told them why. Like I said, oh, well, I'm not the only one working. I'm going to have to come all the way out here. I'm putting the scenarios like, okay, give me a couple more dollars to make it make sense. Because this is a business arrangement. This is a business deal. So long story short, I sent another brother out there. I hope he gets the ordeal. That ISP thing that I'm doing right now, I tried to send a couple brothers over there. I now have confirmation that none of the referrals that I sent over there, they didn't really want to rock with them. And I know these some top tier dudes that I'm sending over there. And like I told you, this place kind of runs like hills have eyes. They have a lot of nepotism over there. They got some folks over there, a bunch of rednecks over there. You can tell they don't know shit, but it's a lot of nepotism. They mama working there, they aunt working there, all of their aunts support the business, all of that kind of stuff. So long story short, yeah, this when this banking company comes back, they presented me with an offer. We gonna see what's up with that. We're gonna see what's up with that. And so I'm just gonna show y'all all the way. Hopefully y'all checked out that caller. I had a caller that was real janky. Oh, this dude, man, I'm gonna load up the other parts of that so y'all could see it, because that caller was tripping. So I'm gonna load up that part too. I'm gonna edit it and I'm gonna load it up for y'all, because y'all gonna, man, I'm telling you, once you get a load of this dude, I sent you the part 2 of it on accident. You know, I wasn't supposed to send that part. Well, it wasn't that I wasn't supposed to, but that part was I broke it up wrong or uploaded in my phone the wrong way or something like that. I don't know. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna upload that. I'm gonna edit that today, and you know, so there's no company names or none of that kind of stuff. And so I'm gonna upload that probably today. But this, I'm gonna throw some DJ Fresh behind this, man. Hope y'all enjoy that slap. And I'm gonna upload this today as well. So I appreciate y'all rocking out with me. I'm not gonna edit nothing. I'm just gonna let it ride. I'm gonna let the company names ride. I'm gonna let it all ride. So y'all know how these folks get down, how they sound, and tell me what you think. Over and out.